Started a home and home with Arizona. You guys have played one before with Gonzaga. It seems like a lot of the games that are marquee home and homes may be harder to schedule. I don't know if that's the way, but this is something you guys were doing. Like, what do you kind of see the value of doing something like this and the value of these games in college basketball?
Well, I mean, I think it's, really good to play against, having this level of competition on the road is always good for us. I thought the exhibition game playing at Memphis was good for us. Playing Johnson C. Smith here at home. Obviously, the game against Elon really prepared us in a number of different ways, and going to Kansas and playing there, and also added, the history of these two programs, playing each other. I played against Kansas in the Final Four in '91. Obviously, we played in the NCAA tournament my first year in 2012, 2013 in Kansas City. They played them in the national championship game. Coach Smith, the relationship there, and Coach Williams, the relationships there, and so it's going to be a fun atmosphere, and really privileged to be able to compete against Kansas on Friday.
How important do you think that is for the sport to have marquee brands actually playing at the other gyms as opposed to just totally neutral court things? It seems like a lot of things are now with college basketball.
Yeah, nothing against neutral courts, but I like playing on each other's home floor. It kind of reminds me of, the ACC when I was here, where, you played everybody twice. They come at your place, you get to go to their place, and those are games that you remember for the rest of your life, whether you're a player or a coach.
Hubert, what have your conversations been like in the past, or your meetings with Coach Self? I'm sure you've seen him on the recruiting trail and at events like that. What is your relationship with him?
Yeah, it's a very good relationship with him, but, it started when I was working for ESPN. One of the cool things of the 7 years I was working for ESPN is I got to go to a number of different shoot-arounds, practices, and games, and be around different coaches and programs, and I was able to spend a lot of time with him and watching him coach, how he prepares the team. And then our history, obviously, playing in the national championship game, and he's an unbelievable person. Obviously, he's a Hall of Fame coach, but he's an incredible person, and somebody that I enjoy competing against, but also enjoy the relationship that we have.
Assuming during your ESPN time you've been in Allen Fieldhouse for some games, what is unique about that, and is there a way to prepare for it? You guys go to Duke every year, so I'm sure it's just a little bigger version of that.
It's different. Kansas, Allen Fieldhouse has its own unique atmosphere that none of our guys have seen before. I have. It'll be fun for us. It's something to be able to play on the road, to play in that atmosphere, to be able to execute against one of the better teams in the country, and I know that myself, I am, and the rest of our players are really looking forward to the challenge on Friday.
To stay on the history between these two. Coach Smith coming from Kansas, and then Roy, of course, spending time there. Larry Brown coached them to a championship.
Yeah.
These two schools are intertwined so much, meeting in the NCAA tournament and kind of helping, exchanging people in the programs. What is the dynamic between these two that makes these two together more unique than any other fabled programs?
Well, I think, the things that you stated, basically answered your question, just of, the unique relationships of, Coach Smith and Coach Williams and Coach Brown, and the legacy that they have left at both places, both institutions, is rare and unique. And, the success of both of these programs, they go connected to Coach Smith, Coach Williams, and Coach Brown. And to be able to have both of us in a regular season game to play on, has North Carolina ever gone to Allen Fieldhouse?
One time, 1960.
Okay, I wasn't alive then. But.
Dean was 29.
It was Coach Smith's third and final year as an assistant.
Yeah.
He became head coach.
Yep.
I just think it's pretty cool, and I don't know how else to say it, that we're really excited about the opportunity to compete against them.
Hubert, we talked the other night after the Elon game about their size and
Yep.
dealing with that, navigating that. moving forward out of that into Kansas on Friday night,
Size.
that's where I'm going with it. You know, like, how do you think maybe just for this group in particular, your group, that going against Elon and what they had can better inform them or help them maybe deal with what you're going to see Friday night?
You know, there's, in terms of, you know, the size and the height, you know, obviously there was a difference in Elon, and there'll be, you know, Kansas, you know, possesses tremendous size. The size that I'm really talking about is the size of your heart. So it doesn't matter if you're 7'4", 9'3", 5'2". I'm gonna box you out. It just is what it is. I'm gonna beat you down the floor. I'm gonna set the screen. I'm gonna get open. I'm gonna make the shot. So it's the size of the heart. And so that's the thing that we talk about as a team every day is the size and the toughness of our heart. The size of opponent really doesn't mean very much to me. It's a will and a want to, an attitude, a desire to compete on every play on both ends of the floor.
Just to follow up on that, did you think there were moments against Elon the other night where you can, specific ones where you can take and learn from? I think Jalen Withers talked about trying to get the 7'4" guy further away from the cup to be able to attack it. You know what I mean? Like, did you think there were certain instances that you've been able to point to maybe this week?
Yeah, I do. I think, I mean, obviously, you know, 7'4", 7'4", but again, not allowing that to become a factor. You can still take the ball strong to the basket. You can still, as you attack the basket with an intent on scoring and dunking as opposed to trying to draw a foul. And those are things that I think we learned from against Elon and trying to dominate points in the paint, because that's something that's huge for us. You know, we only went to the free throw line 16 times. That's just not going to work for us. You know, over the last 3 years, we've made a living at living in the paint, living at the free throw line, and we've done it through post, penetration, and offensive rebounding. And so we're going to have to do it again this year to be efficient on the offensive end. We're not going to be able to make 13 threes every game.
Hubert was talking to RJ the other day, and he was saying that you've really talked a lot to the bigs about, like, when you go up, like going up to dunk and really being, I guess, aggressive.
I tell that to everybody.
Yeah.
If I had their type of athleticism, I didn't have that, so I had to shoot the floater or the mid-range jump shot. They're athletic, and every time that you get into the lane, I think you should dunk it. I just think it's important.
How have you seen those guys kind of embrace that? You know, there's more lobs in games now, and, you know, obviously you have that athleticism.
Well, there are successful lobs and unsuccessful lobs.
That's true.
I'm not very happy with the unsuccessful lobs and the double lob at the end of the game. It resulted in a turnover. And the lob that went into the stands and the lob that hit the basket and ricocheted, luckily, to one of our players. But the lobs that are completed successfully, I like that kind of stuff. Again, it is important for us to dominate points in the paint, and I think we have the personnel and the athleticism to really put a lot of pressure on the rim with our penetration, and that's something that we stress every day.
This program has a history of point guards, thinking like Kendall Marshall and who have not shot well as freshmen, but got better as they went along. How much did Marcus Page, having been through that and being a guide for Elliott, help him in his off-season work and gaining confidence that yes, you can become a better shooter?
Well, I mean, Marcus has been just a huge benefit, not just for Elliott, but for all the players. I mean, when you've had somebody that has been there and done it at a high level, not only on the court, but off the court and in the classroom, having that type of example, especially, with Marcus being closer to their age, he just has a really unique way of being able to communicate, and the relationship between himself and the players is awesome, and they listen to him.
And how much did Elliott getting off to a good start, how much did that help validate his confidence that the work that he put in the offseason was going to pay off?
I think it helped. I really did. I thought it helped. Helped his confidence. He knocked down 3 threes, but It's been more than that, with Elliott, he's taken on a leadership role that has been huge for us. He settles us out there on the floor. He's getting everybody organized, his presence in the locker room. It was great last year, but just the maturity of having one more extra year, you could just see the growth in him, and it's been a huge benefit for our team thus far.
Yeah, Kansas brought in several transfers, one you're really familiar with, and Griffin, who hit 5 3-pointers against you guys for Alabama last year. What kind of challenges does he present to you?
Specifically Griffin?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, he can really shoot. He's got great length. He's 6'6", 6'7". He's really good in transition, but he's not just a shooter. He can put the ball on the floor. He can attack. He can finish at the basket, mid-range game, get to the free throw line. He's a heck of a basketball player, and so obviously he had success against us in the NCAA tournament. He'll continue to do that at Kansas, and he's one of the many guys on their roster that, from a defensive standpoint, we have to stay close to and take away those open looks from three-point range.
You guys faced Hunter Dickinson a couple times when he was at Michigan. Having watched the film of him at Kansas, how is he a different player there? Or is he?
Well, I probably the biggest difference in his game, he's a guy that, one, he's an excellent defender. He can block and alto shots, rebound, runs the floor extremely well for a big. Obviously, he can finish around the basket. He's a fantastic passer out of the post, so he can do that. He can handle it. So they have him in Chicago action where he catches the ball on the perimeter and be able to make plays. Probably the biggest area where he just continues to improve is his ability to shoot the ball from the outside. As a freshman, I don't know how many threes that he made, but his ability to be able to pick and pop and stretch and be able to shoot from three is a factor. It's something that we're gonna have to contend with on Friday.
Of the times that you've coached against Kansas, seen Kansas in practice when you were ESPN, what would you say is sort of the trademark of a coach self-coached Kansas Jayhawks team?
Well, from an offensive standpoint, just the pace in which they transition from defense to offense, it's real and it's elite. Even after a made basket, they do a terrific job at advancing the ball up the floor. All 5 guys running, they do an excellent job of pitching the ball ahead, which makes you actually faster in transition. And defensively, they pick up full court, dead ball, full court situations, timeouts, free throws. They pick up full court and put tremendous pressure on the ball and try to take you out of your offense. And that's something that Coach Self has done ever since that I've seen him coach.
Hubert, because the last time y'all played them was the national championship game, did you all ever watch the film from that game? I mean, the season was over and then you have a new group the next year. I mean, I know every game you would do a film review. Did you do a film review on that game?
I watch it every year, multiple times, and so I've watched it a lot. And wish we could have gotten one more extra rebound.
So yes, then.
Yes.
Okay.
You were going off of that in the last few days with the film sessions. What has been your main takeaways as it relates to what you learned from Elon and then going into Kansas?
Yeah, I would say from an offensive standpoint, just being able to be better in terms of finishing. We missed 15 layups and dunks just around the rim, and you just can't do that. As I said before, offensively, it's important for us to be able to dominate points in the paint through post and penetration. I felt like we got there, and we just weren't able to finish, whether it was a lack of concentration or being affected by their size. That's no excuse. We've got to do a better job of finishing around the basket. And then just transition defense. I think in large part the transition defense, that's something that we have to continue to improve on. In the Memphis game, it was because of turnovers. I think against Elon, it was because of shot selection. And so we just got to do a better job of taking the shots that we all want, because when you do that, you've got offensive boards, but you also got defensive balance, and it puts us in a better position to be able to defend.
What issues did you see on the half-court defense?
Our half-court defense, I thought was really good. I thought we did a good job of protecting the paint. We've got to do a better job of locating Elon, and the same thing against Kansas is, Elon had 13 threes, and their better shooters were the ones that made the threes, and so obviously that's something that we've got to do a better job against Kansas.
Time for a couple more.
Have you talked to Roy at all about his experience coaching at Kansas and just what that, the transition from there to here and what all of that meant to him?
I have talked to him about it, not recently, but, we've talked a lot about, the transition from Kansas here. We've talked about, the transition from being here and going to Kansas, and I've really enjoyed, hearing stories and memories and experiences that he has gone through his time at Kansas and also here in the transition going back and forth.
Was there any advice that he gave you?
No, just stories. And stories that were meant for him and for me.
Do you remember your reaction to him first saying no about coming back and then ultimately returning? Because both of them were huge stories when he did it as a former player for you.
Yeah, they were huge stories, but that was during my NBA career, and so, I knew that it was a consideration of him being able to come back, but I knew that he had built such an unbelievable program at Kansas as well, and so obviously it was great having Coach Williams here, but I can understand them wanting him to stay at Kansas the first time as well.
When Roy went the first time, when you were a player, you were one of his recruits, if I'm not mistaken.
I know, he left me. That's why he hired me, because he owed me one.
Okay, no question. But that's what I'm saying. Like, did he ever come to you and say, like, hey, I'm gonna have to get out of here and take the Kansas job? Did you all ever have a teenage Hubert conversation with younger Roy about going out there to take the job?
No, I really appreciate Coach Williams. One of the things that you always have to have somebody to advocate for you and give you an opportunity, a chance. And I've talked at great length that Coach Schmidt was the one that gave me a chance and an opportunity. But Coach Williams did also in a number of different ways. He was the one that advocated for me to get an offer from Coach Smith. The other part is I got to play for Coach Williams. In 1991, I played for the World University team. It was himself and PJ Carlissimo. We won a gold medal over Sheffield, England, so I got to play for Coach Williams. And then he gave me the chance and opportunity to be a part of his staff and be an assistant coach for him, the greatest coach that I've ever been around for 9 years. And then gave me a chance and opportunity to be the head coach here. And so there's a special place. I'm not here without Coach Williams. And that goes all the way back to I'm not here as a player and as a student without Coach Williams.
Yeah.
He's been
Last one.
advocating.
Hubert's, RJ's waiting.
He's been advocating for you for 36 years, basically,
Yes,
through different stops. That's pretty cool.
that's more than cool. That's awesome.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks, everyone.